Verdansk isn't ready, and that's because Warzone is spiraling out of control. Verdansk is rumored to return on March 10th, the 5-year anniversary of Warzone, and to put that in perspective, Black Ops 6 was released on October 25th, and here we are at Christmas, and the game is the worst it's ever been. We have almost the same time since the new title as we do the reintroduction of one of the greatest maps in history. I don't see it happen. I don't see Warzone being functional enough to make the Verdansk we fell in love with actually playable. Today I want to discuss the state of the game. I've never made a video this wildly negative, and I hope I never have to again, but Call of Duty Warzone has never been this low. First and foremost, cheating. One of the darkest hours of Verdansk was the final couple months where cheaters ran the lobbies. Rage hacking, flying cars, wall hacks, speed hacks, you name it. The community begged Activision to come up with an anti-cheat to protect the real players. Fast forward to now and it's still not happening. And the Ricochet team has admitted it. They've claimed a fix is in the works, but the timing isn't convincing with tentative Season 2 and even 3 patches. That's spring, ladies and gentlemen. That's Verdansk release. That's what content creators have made thousands of hours of videos bashing this week. We are all trying to be a louder voice on how ineffective it is, and many are turning to other games. We have Call of Duty champions, people who have pioneered the pro community, pledging to leave for good. The answer is simple. The game cannot sustain a hacking outbreak like what we've seen in the last month. Ranked or public lobbies, it doesn't matter. None of us will continue if it doesn't change. But even if they do fix hacking fast, issues worry me even more. The connection has been less than perfect over the years, but since the latest integration, it's been horrible. No amount of excuses will keep us occupied any longer. We need stable connections with a high priority connection to make a level playing field for the pulse of the game. And that stability is not there. Shots are not being registered. If the servers can't sync the connections in a rebirth lobby with less than 50 players, how will it handle a newly rendered 150-player Verdansk? Gunplay is insanely bad right now. Packet loss and desync has broken the trust of what made solid gunplay long ago. Bullet velocity and actually a healthy meta in general are completely destroyed by lag. So much to the point that it makes players look like they're hacking, even if they're not. What players hear matters.
They're all on me. No audio.
Wow.
How do you not hear 4 people?
We cannot begin to talk about a competitive environment where sound optimization is not at the top of the list. Absent footsteps and unoptimized sound channels have wrecked player awareness, and we're fed up as a community. Call of Duty mocks us by trying to sell us a sound profile customized to our ear shape. The game has been live for 5 years on the same engine, and even on remastered maps, sound occlusion is beyond destroyed. Rebirth Island was removed only hours after its latest introduction back into Warzone due to its nightmarishly bad quality. If you think about the basis of my fear is Rebirth Island's original iteration was in blackout in early 2019. That's almost 6 years, and the development team still cannot perfect the soundscape on virtually an identical map. There is no way they can fix it in time for Verdansk if they can't master the most polished map in COD history. I can't believe the state of interior visibility right now. Inside buildings has me almost missing the days we had with the OG Rose skin. As a whole, the dynamic weather system that has been blamed on this wasn't something the community necessarily ever begged for. In fact, most of us have the dynamic lighting and weather settings disabled just to play the game at a reasonable stability. Despite all the technological improvements in the last 5 years, we still can't see players in the color schemes of the maps they've remastered. We need a vibrant environment with great player contrast. That means we're done with the desert, whether it's Area 99 or Urzikstan. Someone needs to take the 50 Shades of Brown away from the developer's toolbox. It used to be you had to collect the 20,000 together and coordinate to buy a loadout early game. Then they took that all away, early Caldera, and enraged the community. Then in Warzone 2, we started buying guns individually from the buy station. While that makes for great regaining, it makes for terrible early game. Even better, you can stumble on a crate that gives you both meta loadout weapons, and then you have everything 30 seconds into the game. To make this all even faster, cash is so overly abundant that it's not uncommon for you to die with 10 grand to then be able to respawn back to a buy station just to repurchase 2 guns and then repush. The tactical concept of Battle Royale is completely gone. Speaking of buy stations, we just keep going in the wrong direction. Because how early some players can pop on a meta weapon with up to 8 attachments, the concentration of enemies at them is high. Then the menus are filled with useless tiles to sort through. The simplicity of the OG Verdansk buy station is what made the high-risk purchases so viable. I think the regain would be easier to reprioritize the loot on the ground and control the ecosystem through the cache and through safe regaining. Hot dropping back into the action should always come with less handicaps. As hilarious as some of them are, they only contribute to the pollution of the soundscape. If you're at Control Center with 2 other teams, that's up to 12 microphones, 12 footsteps, 12 movement cues, countless ambient noise, and then the announcer screaming in your ear. Prox Chat was a feature that, again, on the surface seemed like a good idea. There's no independent volume control between the enemy and then you and your team, so then the player base reverts to Discord channels or just not talking. That means your teammates are missing out on valuable comms. Decisions like these affect the game in small doses, but build over time. Imagine 6 teams all landing at the back window of Superstore, all asking each other if they want to catch these hands. Take us back to just the death comms and lighten the load of an already overrun soundscape. The raw punishment of skill-based matchmaking is brutal. It will pair you in parties and lobbies of terrible latency to help balance the bad day of others. In other words, not prioritizing better connections, allowing lag to enhance the engagement of a player that's likely to sign off the game prematurely. We've all had our literal ups and downs with the matchmaking, but I feel like in their quest to protect the lesser skilled bracket, they've crippled the rest of us. Connection-based matchmaking is the fastest way to healthy lobbies, and it let the diversity breed a sense of trust in the system. And I know that connection is not their first priority. We all have felt very regularly that the servers are not prioritizing our connection first. If there's a skill gap and the game is fun, players will want to improve and keep investing time into the game. But if they feel like the game is holding back their improvement, the player base will continue to ask why the grind is even worth it. Whenever people talk about Warzone 1's Verdansk, I always reflect to the amazing vehicles and how much they really made the game. The speed and the agility made for more epic rotations and high adrenaline pushes that you just don't see anymore. If you bring back Verdansk without that style of vehicle skill gap, it will never play the same. Vehicles were agile and fragile, not sluggish and invincible. The helicopter from day one was a meta weapon all on its own in the right hands, but all it took to take one out was one well-placed explosive. Ultimately, I'm sad, because I love this game. I've played Call of Duty for 20 years. I fell even more for the inclusion of Battle Royale 5 years ago. I'm so passionate about the potential, but I just keep coming back to see all of this get worse. But hey, they've added a raccoon to the store. I started this channel almost a year ago because I wanted to offer tips to players from all categories. New beginners, average players, and even advanced players to improve at the game that we love. But it just doesn't seem like Call of Duty cares anymore. You guys tell me, do you want Verdansk back in the game's current state? What do you think they should change? Let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe to the Sitrep community so we can make a final push for what we want in the game before it's too late.